Welcome to the Milo show, shortly to be rechristened Milo. Some of you will remember those loyal listeners from way back in the day, the long, dim, distant past, episode 1, that my first special celebrity guest was myself, and we're going to do it again. But I am joined this week by Colin Madine. Hi, Colin.
Hello.
Colin is my chief of staff. So Colin is the competent, long-suffering adult in the room that makes all of my crazy machinations possible. And we're going to have a little chat about what's been going on the last couple of weeks and what's coming up. I'm in Alabama. And I just got here. It looks exactly like I thought it would look, which is not a read. It's so charming. This is the sort of America that Europeans think about when they think of sort of real America, proper America. You were telling me they have no unions here, so they have lots of manufacturing cars and things.
Well, it's an interesting place because it's one of the few areas where our economy is really growing. When you look at the southern states, Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, the Carolinas, the European and Asian car companies came in there and set up shop, and they don't have unions, and they pay workers better than the big three. And everyone's happy. And meanwhile, the American car companies are shipping jobs off to Mexico to avoid unions and doing other things.
Yeah, well, there we go. Get rid of unions. I don't understand why unions still exist. I mean, is there any industry that still needs unions? I can't think of one.
I think you should have a one-man union, just not the International Guild of Milo, but it's only you.
I think a one-man union is called being a diva. I think we have a word for that already. I'm sliding.
Well, you could expand it. You could have the Brotherhood of Dangerous Faggots, and whatever else, like concrete mixers, and ship drivers or something.
I think I'm settling into my role as the tour talent quite comfortably. I've got this vast retinue of people to sort of polish my toenails and things, but I don't ask them really to do anything, but they keep offering.
Yeah, it's funny how that works.
I've been by the way, I hope that my tour manager, Andrew, will not listen to this, but I'm thinking of getting a puppy. I want to get like a tour dog, like a husky puppy. Mm-hmm. A little female dog called Ivanka. There's a little Louis Vuitton collar, one of those little dog baskets, They're about 3.5.
Because you need more waste on the bust, right? More.
No, the bus.
Fecal
No, the bus is actually very tidy. It's kept very tidy, and there is no fecal matter on the bus. We do not pass solids into the bus bathroom.
Well, there's your first insight, fans. There's no number 2s on the Milo bus.
No number 2s on the Dangerous Faggot tour bus. No, this is a fairly common thing, because the bus. You know what? Actually, never mind. Let's talk about something else.
No, I think you got to get to the real point, which is for those fans in Chicago will remember when the Dave Matthews Band released the solids from the bus over a river to try to save money, and it landed on a ship full of tourists.
Oh, wow. Is that really? I'd never heard of that.
Yeah, you can look it up.
Maybe I should.
100 people got sick from it and sued Dave Matthews. He's like a big, liberal guy, but meanwhile he's raining number 2s on tourists. Okay, let's.
I wonder if there's some
we?
sort of feminist cruise. Probably not down here in Alabama. Maybe when I get to New York, I could look up some sort of feminist cruise. Maybe a Black Lives Matter day out.
Yeah, there's probably a big 10-course meal on the feminist cruise.
They were, they'll be inhaling pudding at such a rate they won't even notice. They'll just think it's some sort of brownie that's melted in the sun.
Exactly.
Well, this is the sort of high-level political and social analysis people tune into the Milo show for.
We got to hit both extremes. So, when I sent you some ideas to talk about, the first thing that came to mind is, you have a lot of fans, a lot of people who are following the tour, and this is your first chance to talk to them, not being on stage. And so everyone can safely assume, after a show, the first 20 minutes are about how beautiful you were. But I
do talk about that a lot. I'm getting very thin.
Right. The next whole hour after a show, all you do is talk about the crowds, because you do this for the crowds, and I think you take your energy from the crowds. So I thought we could take a few minutes to hear from you what you consider your best crowd moments. I think the dog tags would be up there, right?
Yeah. And for those who saw that, it was a really remarkable moment. I mean, I try to play, kind of mock sociopath in public. I don't know, you'll have your own opinions on how, how close to reality that is, but, I'm not somebody who kind of luxuriates in feelings. I like facts and reason and logic, because I think feelings are pretty much, taking America into a dark place. People, endlessly pandering to their own egotism and emotions. But once in a while, something does happen that touches you slightly. And I was talking, one of my usual subjects, and in the Q&A afterwards, which is always my favorite bit of the show. I love the Q&A because it's me in my natural environment, sort of live on the spot, And if you can perform well in a Q&A, then you really have a command of your material. And if you can still be entertaining, you've really got it. And so that's what I try to be as good at as I can. As
I can't believe you turned this into complimenting yourself. That's your number one talent.
And when you find out what I'm about to tell you, you're going to be even more amazed that I turned this into an extended compliment to myself. So one of the things I like to do on my way to being amazing is be really selfless. I think that was the first guy in the Q&A. And you can find this on the YouTube channel. You go to youtube.com/Milo. There you go. See, promotional as well. And it was this guy who's a sergeant, and he said, thank you for speaking out for us when we can't. And in the I have a lot of military fans. The military loves me, for a variety of obvious reasons, because I think we share the same opinions on just about everything, even if I'm not quite as willing to roll my sleeves up and get stuck in the mud. I think we have similar politics on everything, mostly. And of course, they can't say anything, even though they see the military becoming politicized. They see the top brass influenced by, ever more progressive initiatives from above, lowering standards to introduce women, and all the rest of it. And, I think I made the point in the talk. There's nothing wrong with women being on the front lines, provided they can cut the mustard, unless, they're causing disruptions. And by and large, they do, of course. But the real issue is sort of military top brass lowering standards and gerrymandering things, which not only makes the men serving radically less safe on the front lines in conflict, but also simply weakens, Western armies' abilities to win wars. And it's not as though we're in a situation where the world is peaceful and calm and happy and joyous, and there are no huge conflicts on the horizon, is it? And we're embroiled in dozens of them. My home country, the UK, is, turned down going to Syria, but is still fighting on multiple fronts. The United States is still the only superpower and still the country that we all look up to and that we all rely on. And its military is engaged in the program of this sort of weird, politically correct dilution of standards. Anyway, this guy, this guy said thank you for talking about the stuff that we can't, and offered to give me his dog tags. And it was just a really beautiful moment, and it was a nice thing. Like I say, every once in a while something touches you really sincerely, and it's normally when, university college campuses are places of posturing. They're places you go to, to exhibit yourself, and there's protesters and all being ridiculous, and my crowd's being very loud and boisterous and all the rest of it. And then you have that moment of still and sincerity, your sort of pin drop moment, as that was. And it's sort of, without getting too earnest and without getting too cliched about it, it kind of makes the tour worthwhile when you have those real moments with somebody. There was another one, a girl from Kuwait, well, I should say a young lady from Kuwait.
Right.
Who asked a question at the end of one of my dates, and she said, if you want to, these crazy feminists, if you want to import people into America from the land I fled, come outside and I'll give you a piece of my mind, or something to that effect.
Yeah, I think she's an honorary white male now.
I think she is. She's internalized whatever it is. No, really remarkable. So we did an interview with her actually, and she was very persuasive. She spoke very powerfully about fleeing Kuwait from an arranged marriage, getting out, getting over to the United States, arriving with nothing, and turning herself into something. Now she's a student. Now she's got a bright future ahead of her, and to hear her challenge feminists is very powerful. She says, you were pandering to Islam, banging on about all the stuff that doesn't really exist in the United States, all the while, beating up on the straight white males in the United States, all the while pandering and mollycoddling to Islam. Well, I would encourage you to go there. You like it so much.
They never do they?
No.
They never leave the United States.
No, go see it. Go see it. Go see where I'm from. Go live my, go see my story in real life. And she spoke very powerfully. You can find it on Breitbart because we one of my camera crew did an interview with her after the show. It was really remarkable. This tour is producing, because I think, we have a lot more resources this time around. So, I can give really meaty, good talks on completely different subjects every night. Get the chance to slightly, higher production values. The whole thing is just working a lot more smoothly. And it's producing these beautiful moments, these moments of real human sincerity and realness.
I do want to go back to the sergeant for just a second. What impressed me about that from where I sit, because I quickly learned some of your most strident fans are veterans and active duty personnel. But, he, not only did he speak up as an active duty serviceman, which impressed me, because that's putting your neck out on the line.
It was brave. I mean, he could get a court-martial for going too far, Right. And I don't think he did go too far, but it was still edgy.
Right. And, not only that, but he drove up from somewhere a couple hours away, I believe. And, sergeants aren't rich and they don't get a lot of time off. And he really, he sacrificed to do that. And, I think it's great that you appreciate it to that degree.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to sort of get wrapped up in the flippancy and the fun and the protests and the MAGA chants and all this kind of stuff. But then something does happen that makes you realize you're actually doing good in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So if we don't count FAU, which we'll talk about separately, what has been your favorite protest, if any?
Do you know what's really interesting? And I enjoy this very much. And it's partly a function of the election. It's partly a function, I think, of the sort of confidence. I'm going to flatter myself again, but I do think it's fair. The sort of confidence that I think I'm giving libertarians and conservatives on campuses. They show it in such huge numbers. I mean, Louisiana State, we filled a 1,200 seater in 48 hours, It's really remarkable that the sort of the levels of high energy and the confidence and joyfulness. What's happened is really interesting. So the first two legs of the tour, when I was doing it in a more of a sort of DIY way, we had huge protests outside. Everybody remembers DePaul. Everybody remembers Rutgers. But and I'm sure there's going to be lots of big protests, and I know there will. I know there will be, and I know it's going to be very entertaining and very funny. And of course, there's Trigglypuff from UMass and all the rest of it. But one thing that's really remarkable is just to sense this sort of sea change in atmosphere and energy on campuses. I can kind of feel like the social justice warriors almost know they're beaten. There's a spirit of sort of they have the sort of this whiff of brokenness about them. The numbers are small. Their protests are sort of weak and limp-wristed. They show up, and in one case, we have a video on YouTube of some guy who came out to protest who didn't even know who I was. He was there because
that's actually the best protest. To be honest.
No, the funny thing is, he was there because his girlfriend or some girl had said you should come and protest this, evil misogynist monster, and so he came along. I have and Purdy, the cameraman, was like, "So have you seen any of his videos?" Nah. Do you know who he is? No, but I'm going to find out. These are, he's going to go and he's going to watch and he's like, oh my goodness, this guy's really reasonable. My girlfriend's insane. But what's remarkable is just that the energy levels, the difference. And I got this guy Hunter who's great doing my YouTube channel now. And he just put this video together of, the high energy in the room, like these 1,200 seaters roaring, in Louisiana State with like 12 wackos and weirdos outside, and always from the gender studies department, always with, the signature haircuts and always a, tranny or two, just want to be there to be heard. They just want to be there to be noticed. And it's changed from a sort of slightly nervous atmosphere inside the auditorium with me kind of doing the best I can to bring these kids out of their shells in many cases with big, strong, emboldened protests outside. The atmosphere has changed. I took a couple of months break and now I've come back. I think we might be winning because now the power level is completely inverted. Now we have big auditoriums full of people roaring and cheering and having a good time, realizing that nothing bad happens if you don't subscribe to crazy political correctness, and a couple of weirdos outside. I mean, I do think this is going to change because we've done we've done Louisiana and we've done Texas and whatever so far. So I have no doubt that on, later in the tour, when we get back to California and we do some New York dates, it's going to be pandemonium again. And of course I'm looking forward to that because I love the spectacle of it all. And I just love the drama and theater of it because I think it's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing. But I got to tell you, like, I really sense something brewing, a new sort of confidence among the anti-politically correct forces on campuses. And they don't look like you think they're going to look. They're not all straight white male Republicans. Some of them are Trump fans. Some of them are not. I had people coming up to me in the, when I held a funeral for Twitter. Just a funny, and how prescient was I? We'll talk about that later. I held a little funeral for Twitter, and, I had, 4, 5, 6 people come up to me and say, I'm a liberal, I'm progressive, I'm going to vote for Hillary, but I loved this, and we do not get this on campus anymore. You're by far the most, fun and mischievous and entertaining person that we've had on campus ever. People are just coming because they enjoy it, because it's fun, and all the positive energy is now in the room rather than, this vast kind of negative energy outside it. So I do take comfort from that.
And, I think if you compared the previous leg of the tour with this, think about LSU, say a year ago, those 1,200 kids would communicate through furtive hand signals and, are you down with conservatism? You know what I mean? They couldn't even say it out loud.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
now, they're wearing their MAGA hats, they're screaming, they're having fun. It's a different school for them than it was even a semester ago.
I think so too.
Probably because of you.
And those forces, those anti-political correctness forces, and it's sort of the younger end of the Trump voters. They're like the older end of, the older Trump voters just like policy, they want to build the wall, they want to fix trade. The younger Trump voters, the more sort of the cultural libertarians, some of the alt-righters, some of the just general kind of mischief makers and fun lovers online who are just sick and tired of being called names when they know that there's nothing wrong with them. These people just now, they're the cool kids. They're the kids with the energy and enthusiasm. They're great. And they're my people, they're all so much fun. I've never seen on college campuses outside of big music events and very famous comedians who don't play, of course, anymore because they're pussies and they're too terrified. I've never seen this level of energy. It's very exciting. I'm very happy to have been at least partly responsible for creating it.
All right, now we need to do our first commercial break, or they'll kill me. They have.
Okay.
I'm going to be droned by podcast one here. So
I could talk about myself forever. Fine, good, but first of all, our regular returning favorite, of course, is TrueCar. And Colin he emails me every week with a new thing, lovely things to say about TrueCar, but I cannot praise them highly enough. They've been with us forever. Milo listeners, of course, are buying cars left and right. The reason being that you're actually working and you have jobs, unlike the social justice warriors, driving the economy with your vehicle purchases. And the Milo way to buy a car is called TrueCar. There's more to buying a car than just the price. There is the actual buying experience. And to enjoy a better one, you have to go to a TrueCar certified dealer. They are there to help you find the car you want, and they are what make TrueCar unique. With TrueCar, you can connect with a local certified dealer of your choosing, so you can lock in guaranteed savings off MSRP and enjoy a better buying experience. TrueCar customers are more likely to enjoy a faster buying process when they connect with TrueCar certified dealers. Over 2 million cars have been sold to TrueCar users by the TrueCar certified dealer network, and there are over 11,000 TrueCar certified dealers nationwide. You will work directly with a TrueCar certified dealer contact, and TrueCar users save an average of more than $3,250 off MSRP, which is about what I spend on dinner. Just kidding. So when you're
our later appetizer.
Yes. So when you're ready to buy a new or a used car, visit TrueCar.com or download the TrueCar. Yeah, I do spend about that a week, I think, on our later appetizer. When you're ready to buy a new or a used car, visit TrueCar.com or download the TrueCar app to enjoy a better car buying experience. Some features are not available in all states.
Beautifully done.
Well, thank you. I'm getting good at this now, because I'm British. So there's this sort of reading ads thing kind of, made me feel horribly prickly and uncomfortable when I first started, because Brits just don't do that. You never hear in England, like we don't really have talk radio per se, but you just never hear hosts reading out ads. There's this sort of it's sort of not done. There's ads are an ads thing, and journalism and commentating is that thing. And there's this huge Chinese wall between the two. In America, of course, people like to hear product announcements and things in the voice of the person they're listening to. This is very new for me, but I feel like I'm getting better at it.
So the next thing that we do with our ads in America is we have killer segues. So we did our ad about cars. So I want to talk about you being on the road. Okay. Because you're if we look at the last leg of the tour, you were largely flying from city to city and getting rides to the college, stuff like that. You didn't see much.
No, but I was doing it in a really kind of ratchet way. I was getting picked up by the students, sleeping on their couches. People don't realize that, people don't realize how DIY the last bit of the tour was. I mean, it's fine now. I'm in the Ritz-Carlton on a tour bus now, but I wasn't always.
So you're in this massive bus, but you're logging a lot of miles. So, you talked about this at the beginning a little bit. You're seeing a very different America now. So what do you think about like driving through sort of the empty areas of Texas, things like that?
Well, first of all, what people say about the sort of expansiveness, ineffability of these vast American vistas is not exaggerated. I mean, it is a beautiful, beautiful country. Even what Americans probably take for granted as just, endless dirt roads with nothing on the horizon. There isn't really anything quite like that in Europe. And that's those vast expanses of flat dryness and the beautiful sunsets and those long straight highways. There's something very beautiful about it. And it's a very unique kind of landscape that you don't really get anywhere else. So I've been enjoying that hugely. I know a lot of European writers who've come to America have noticed that and have enjoyed that. And I certainly do too. The other thing, and I kind of knew this was going to be the case already, but I'm happy to be able to say it now with the benefit of experience. So I know I'm absolutely right. Is, if you're listening to this show, you're probably one of those people who has been assumed by the sort of metropolitan progressive left to be a hateful, sexist, racist, misogynistic, homophobic monster. You may well not live in Manhattan or in Chelsea or in Los Angeles. You may live in, what I suppose I like to call real America. And having actually spent some time in real America, I'll tell you for sure. There are people who come up to me all the time who don't know what the bus is about, and I talk to them a little bit, or they do know, and the recognition of it has been remarkable, actually. But there are people who come up and they say, I got to tell you, I don't agree with everything you say, and I'm not quite down with some of the lifestyle stuff, and you know what I mean? Yes, I know what you mean. But I think you're really brave, and I'm going to pray for you, and I think you're doing great. So thank you, sir. And it's that level of compassion and kindness, which for me is characterized, the America I've seen so far. And I've been in Mississippi, I've been in Texas, I've been in Alabama, Georgia, and Florida, of course, a little bit more metropolitan, but in places in a way. But this America that is supposedly so awful and so hateful, that the progressive left loves to beat up on, the flyover states. I've been stunned, and I knew it was going to be like this, and I was sure it was going to be like this, but I'm so happy that I'm right.
There's a big difference where they think everyone is like either buying gas to burn across or in the process of burning across. But what you see is these are the people who they will always say they'll pray for you. And these are the people who kind of ride around on the highway hoping to see someone broken down because they'll fix their car and tell them where to go. You know what I mean? They're
it's
nice,
it's that sort of Christian
people.
Charity. And local radio hosts have asked me about this because I think people down here are constantly, they're just mystified by the way in which they're described, by how they're referred to, and the snobbishness of sort of coastal elites. And frankly, I agree with them. There's a huge gulf, and it's been very remarkable to me as a European coming over here and seeing America fresh in person, bits of it that I haven't seen before. There's such a huge gulf between the sincerity, the Christian charity, the kindness, the authenticity, like the realness of people in these states, and the nasty, vindictive sociopathy of people who, the holier-than-thou social justice warriors in the media, people who you just would not want to be at dinner with, people who are just, odious and cruel and unpleasant and so mean and spiteful. And you compare that with, down here in the South, people just invite you for dinner at their home, you know? And I know that sounds silly and flippant and cliche, but it's happened to me dozens of times in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, we've got a lot of emails, and it's not even like guys that want to date you. It's just people that want to.
No, I know. No, actually, there are fewer of those these days because I'm upsetting too many homosexuals. But no, and it's just people saying, you know, it's amazing to me. I've never experienced anything like it, but as people elsewhere in America begin to find out about me, they'll email me and they'll say, thank you so much for everything you do. My son is a big fan of yours. Love you. If you're ever in the area, I'd love to invite you into my home for dinner. I was like, what? You know? Yeah. And these people mean it. And it's so lovely. It's so lovely. You know, I think if I were ever, I don't know, if I were to retire in America or if I were ever to, you know, in 30 years time, whatever, want to get a house here or something, you know, I think maybe, you know, earlier in my career, it's going to have to be in a big city or I'm going to have to sort of spend time in big cities. But I got to tell you, like, out there in real America, people are just so nice. It's so lovely.
If you have a cattle ranch in Texas, what would your brand be? You have to have a special brand.
Oh, you do?
For the cows. Yeah, like maybe the queer M, like an upside down M is what you brand on the cows.
Yeah, no. If I keep hordes of sweaty beasts on any kind of private property, it might look somewhat different from a cattle ranch. But
exactly,
but
still good flesh.
Yeah, still good flesh.
So, you know, largely nice. Have you gotten, so when, you know, to your point, when a social justice warrior imagines people in East Texas, Mississippi, they're thinking of people saying, boy, you're not from around here, are you? Have you gotten any of that, or is everyone just nice?
That was very good. You know, the funny thing is, the only 3 people, because I've got this huge word faggot on the side of the bus, a dangerous faggot tour. It's a huge thing. There's been 3 people who've been a bit, what's this then? You know? And then of the 3, 2 of them, it turns out, knew who I was, just didn't realize it was me. And they were like, what is faggot on the side of this bus? Are you a band or, you know, what the hell is this? And so 2 of them turned out they knew who I was and liked me. And the last one, I just had a chat with him. I said what I did. And he was just like, wow, had no idea. You changed my idea about homosexuals. And I said, yeah, well, you know, that's kind of,
they only know the kind that's on TV, you know,
these awful squealing, it's not even the politics. It's just who they are. They're sort of squealing queers, you know, they're just gay. Right. They're just too gay. They're too gay even for me. You know, I can only imagine now, just a nice, respectable family man sort of switches over to see Will and Grace. I mean, it must be horrible.
Right. Now, the other thing about driving around is, you know, because you've known for quite a while, that's how I travel in the Midwest. You know, I drive endless hours.
You're never not on the road. Every time I call you, you're on the road.
So, you know, you've kind of learned a little bit of a different travel style, which is you drive for a couple hours and you pull into a truck stop or a rest stop, and there's all sorts of awful food. So what's that like?
Truck stops so much. No, you don't understand. I can't eat any of the food at the truck stops because I have my trainer with me, but I have been. I'll tell you, I did go off piste yesterday, and I did have Popeyes, but no, I love them. I love them. It's so great. And you know what's very funny? I think we have some pictures of this. All these like gigantic trailers and huge like haulage trucks lined up at truck stops. And then my little black dangerous faggot thing. It looks so funny. It looks so funny.
The thing that always confused me about truck stops is the truck drivers, you probably have a lot of truck driver fans because you have a lot of fans in every demographic, but they will get they have these huge insulated bottles for drinks, and they'll just put like probably, you know, like 2 liters of Diet Coke or Coke in there, and then they drive, and I'm just like, how are they not needing to use the bathroom every 2 minutes? You know?
Well, they have non-solid loos in their things.
Yeah, surely. I guess so.
I guess, you know, but the whole truck stop America is very new to me. And I love it. And I love that all of them have slightly different personality, you know? So that you'll see like different kinds. So some of them are kind of like real tat. Now you'll go in there and it'll be like really tacky, terrible gifts. And some of them are attached to really nice, like leather work store. You know, like they'll have saddles and gilets and whips and all sorts of things if you're somewhere near like a horsey place. And the different character of them is really remarkable. And no, I absolutely love it. And they sort of change as you're driving across the country. the feel of them changes and the kind of food. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Right. And so when I have my kids in the car and we're at a truck stop, my number one job as a parent is to make sure everyone goes to the bathroom, because you don't want to leave and have everyone go, I need to go to the bathroom. So part of the reason I'm glad I'm not your tour manager is trying to get 13 children to use the bathroom.
They're not children. They're 21 and 22-year-olds, but they do not always
they identify as...
Yeah, they identify as
you
toddlers.
too. I'm counting you in there.
Yes. So. Well, I have to tell you that I do sometimes have to like squeal for a bathroom break because I didn't listen and I didn't go. Yeah, like 13, 21-year-old social media shitlords, like who aren't always listening and always have headphones. It is like herding, not even cats. It's like herding. Yeah. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, you can't even tell. Some of them just say they need to use the restroom, but it's ironic. They're not even serious, right?
Yeah, they just want to Snapchat it or something. There was
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. I was finished. Very elaborately polite, but no. No, please.
So it's kind of similar when you're talking about you hit on related to energy, and you talked about LSU because you said 1,200 people there, right? At the big
no, and we sold out 1,200 in 48 hours.
Right. So Hillary was somewhere up north with the damn Yankees. And I don't remember. I'm going to talk vaguely because I don't remember the exact numbers, but she had something like a tenth of your crowd, somewhere around 100, 150.
And who knows how many of them were bussed in.
Right. Or her medical staff, of course. So
that was just, there were 150 people at Hillary rallies. 75 of them were nurses.
Yeah, exactly. Nursing students. They actually get credit for going to a Hillary rally in like emergency seizure medicine.
Yeah, course credit because you will be called upon.
It's a win-win,
So they see more action at a Hillary rally from her alone than an entire night in the emergency room.
Yeah, totally.
What kind of tick was that? Like, who knows, right? They was going to huddle around analyzing. Be great. This is, if you are a doctor and you're in a teaching hospital and you're listening to this, please help us work out what's wrong with Hillary Clinton. Take your students down to a Hillary rally. We don't mind about you temporarily inflating her numbers because her numbers are terrible anyway. Take your students down to a Hillary rally and get them on it. Get them on the case. They're going to sleuth it out. These weird ticks and the staring and the miscoordinated eyes and the jabbering, that weird laughter, whatever pill it is, the thickened water. I mean, there's so many brilliant conspiracy theories on the internet. I'm obsessed with all of them. So many good conspiracy theories. The guy who's next to her, is it an EpiPen? Is it what is it? Does she have a catheter? What are those weird shapes in her suit when she falls over? Is that, I'm so obsessed with this subject. It's so endlessly fascinating, and even more fascinating is how they sort of spectacularly badly lie about it. There's nothing wrong.
Just a disclaimer, you have good bus drivers. There's not any bus accidents that are going to happen, and you don't feel particularly suicidal, right?
Well, no, I mean, look, if I would just like to put it on the record, if there is a mysterious automobile accident anytime in the next 6 months, you should be inspecting the wreckage, because my drivers are responsible and careful and sober. So there's definitely something up. Something has happened.
Exactly. But before we got off on the crazy nurse student rant, doesn't that say a lot to you?
I can't help it. It's so fascinating. It's my favorite thing to do. They do these like Paul Joseph Watson does these videos. The guy who works for InfoWars, Alex Jones, and so many other people have all these amazing like side by side photos, and there's like pictures of medical equipment, and it looks like the exact same shape, down her leg in the pantsuit. I love it. It is the best thing on the internet.
You should start wearing some boxes inside your pants just to start to say, get some rumors about you,
Well, I don't want people to think I'm sick. They already think I've got AIDS because I'm losing weight so fast. If only. No, I want to. I mean, it's just, look, what I was going to say was it's so great. The internet used to have. I was once a research assistant for a book about conspiracy theories, and all of the weird and wonderful conspiracy theories on the internet, they're all sort of commingle, they sort of interlock and feed into each other. So people who believe that the government invented AIDS are likely to also believe in UFOs, who are likely also to believe in various other things. And they have all these theories about how this stuff connects, how it all links up, like sort of real life X-Files stuff.
Yeah, red string between pictures is what those of us in the conspiracy world prefer.
Right,
like
sorry. Really? Is that what they call it? Red strings?
Well, yes. I'm not. You've never seen my wall, so let's just.
Let's just like with the pins. Yeah. No, I've seen. No, I don't know, but I think I've seen it in some episode of NCIS or something. When they get to the house of the guy that did it, he's normally got red string between pictures. But no, it's so all of the internet's collective conspiratorial might, all of its ingenuity, all of its weirdos and brainiacs and autists have all come together and focused their energies on working out, is Hillary Clinton sick? And if she is, what has she got? And it's the most endlessly fascinating. You can get lost in it for days. For days.
So, Milo, I guess my comment is, I'm particularly interested in the JFK assassination conspiracy. Always have been. I got it from my dad. Of course.
We won't say what it is on air, but you and I share a conspiracy. We won't go there because
neither
somebody would write
nor deny.
Somebody would write it up tomorrow. If I told you, but you and I share a very prominent conspiracy. But carry on.
But, what I was going to say is, although people doubted the Warren Commission at the time, at the time of the assassination, well, we know as like the JFK conspiracy industry really didn't pop up for decades. So to me, what's fascinating is whether you believe it or not, the day after a debate, there will be videos, freeze frames. Like here's when her podium is doing weird things. And here's where they're walking her in with flashlights. It's like, almost within minutes, you're getting people analyzing things. It's really interesting.
No, I love it, and it's. I can't believe we're having this huge diversion, but no, I find it just mesmerizing. It's so interesting, and it's interesting sort of to see how people's minds work and the amazing connections they draw between things. But it's also, when this stuff spills over into the media, it's also interesting to consider how badly their campaign has dealt with this. So first of all, they deny it, and then they say she's got pneumonia, and then Bill goes off script, and then everyone
overheating,
and then there's and then those emails from Huma come out. People get reminded about those emails from Huma Abedin that say she's often confused. There's all of this stuff kind of commingles in the public imagination, and then finally the Washington Post admits, yes, Hillary's health is a big electoral issue, and now because they've been so evasive about it for so long, it's going to dog her forever.
And certainly you would agree. I know you find it delicious when people are very hypocritical. Same writers who said we need McCain's psychological records and we need Bob Dole's health records for the last 50 years.
Oh yeah, other ones.
Sexism to question Hillary's health.
Right, but despite the fact that she's 72 or something, it's ridiculous, ridiculous. Now, before you tell me that we have to move on to a second ad break, I'm going to pip you at the post and move on to it myself.
Yeah, go for it. I'm shocked by your maturity and attention to detail here.
Stop it. You're so mean to me. I'm perfectly grown up and responsible and able to perform the functions of my job, which are anyway. All right. As everyone knows, feminists would love to put me in a pine box. A couple of clever guys in Las Vegas, however, have gone the other way. They've done the next best thing to putting me in a board game box with their new game, PC Police. This game makes great fun of safe rooms, safe spaces, trigger warnings, affirmative action, political correctness, and everything else we love to hate. You'll get to identify as a member of the minority of your choice. I, of course, always play as a black man. You get to be offended and run to a safe room and curl up in a fetal position. Or if you are the offender, you can, in the course of playing this board game, be sent to diversity training for re-education, just like North Korea or Brandeis. The game uses real-life examples of this absurd movement, the political correctness, safe space, trigger warning, victimhood, grievance, malarkey culture, to ridicule free speech Nazis. It's ridicule they richly deserve, by the way. The best part is that you can buy PC Police for yourself or send it anonymously to another person. Imagine the social justice warrior in your life crying about board game rape. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. If you are excited by this game, I would encourage you not to purchase it for yourself, because as fun as it probably sounds, it will be even more fun to send it to the feminist in your family, or even perhaps silently to your girlfriend. Buy the game at the website PCPoliceGame.com. That's PCPoliceGame.com. And you can use the code Milo for a 20% discount.
I would say I would love to encourage listeners to have unboxing videos. So when you give it to your transgendered whoever, just
like a
tape
secret.
them. We want to see that. We want to see that second when their soul dies. You know,
like your favorite paraplegic Armenian, Black, Syrian, immigrant, Muslim, like lesbian, feminist. We've all got them.
Marxist.
We've all got them in our lives. Give them a copy of PC Police. Just make sure you fit the room with cameras first, and that you're in a state that allows that. Because some of them don't. You know what's interesting? I haven't taken advantage of this, although I should. But you know that like the recording laws are different in different states. So you know if you want to call somebody and record without their permission, varies as to whether you're allowed to do it, and it determines where you're calling from. Is what determines whether you're allowed to do it or not. We should look that up. We should have some fun with that.
Everybody likes to get stuff for free, right?
Yes!
Well, then how would you like 2 months of Podcast One Premium for free just by giving us your email address?
Amazing!
You give us your email address, and we'll give you 2 free months of Podcast One Premium's exclusive content from Adam Carolla, Shaq, Brandi Glanville, Chris Jericho, Steve Austin, and a whole lot more. We won't even ask you for a credit card to make this happen, so your financial future is 100% safe. Well, actually, that's up to you, but at least we won't screw you up. Get 2 free months of Podcast One Premium. Go to podcastone.com and click the register button on the homepage.
Well, this has been fun. What else have we got to talk about? I do want to talk about Twitter.
I think before you talk about Twitter, I'm going to overrule you. This is the one time when I can without retribution.
Heavens. This is Colin is my adult in the room. He's the only person in the vast Milo organization that has the power of veto over the dangerous faggot. Do it.
So I want to talk about the Florida Atlantic University cancellation. So we
should.
I've walk people through this because this is what they want to hear from you on. Like, what was the threat? Mm-hmm. How did you find out? What was your reaction?
Well, I'm used to getting threats from feminists, and I don't take them tremendously seriously because I get so many every week. But this was a bit different. So just to give you the background, we cancelled a date at Florida Atlantic University last week because the students who were organizing it received a threat to the event. And the university and the students escalated to the FBI. And the FBI took a look at the guest list, took a look at the threat, and deemed it to be credible. That is to say, there's a realistic prospect that some idiot might try to act out on it. Now, although, I think most of us know that people who shoot places up and plant bombs, which are the two things that the threat suggested might happen, don't tend to call ahead first. I obviously can't go ahead with any event where there is any potential risk to the audience or the student organizers or indeed anybody else or law enforcement either, if it can possibly be avoided. If we have a threat that is deemed credible by the FBI, I have to, pull the thing. What was interesting about this one is it came 24 hours after the Daily Stormer declared war on me. And the Daily Stormer, if you're blessed enough not to know what it is a sort of proper, very often, the alt-right and Trump, Generation Trump and cultural libertarians and Milo fans get accused of all sorts of ugly things. Among them, anti-Semitism, white nationalism, all kind of a total load of bunkum. Just a classic, it's just an escalation of the sort of name-calling rhetoric from the left. We called them on their garbage. We've said, call us sexist, call us racist is not going to work anymore. And so they've escalated to the worst things they can think of. They call Trump Hitler. They call me Ernst Röhm, the gay Nazi. The only thing, of course, I have in common with Ernst Röhm is being found in compromising positions with men in uniform. But they want to, they want to see what sticks. And racism, in particular white supremacy, is one of those allegations that can, if you're not careful, stick because normal people sort of can't come out of nowhere. Nobody would be crazy enough to call somebody a white supremacist with no evidence. But of course they do. There is none, because it isn't true. However, the Daily Stormer is home to people who really do have some unsavory opinions. And being free speech central, I wouldn't want to see those people censored. In fact, I think that putting a spotlight on them shows them up for what they are and introduces the wider public to their views and gives them exactly the right level of social censure and opprobrium. But these people do, put it this way. Dylan Roof was a commenter and a regular reader of the Daily Stormer. So this website does have some people involved, in it, or at least who read it, who are perhaps not hugely stable.
I heard a rumor, and I can't confirm this, but the rumor I heard was the reason they were upset is that you did your speech called How to Destroy the Alt-Right, and they took it completely straight. They thought you were trying to help Hillary.
Well, this was like a full autist explosion, because it was two things. I did How to Destroy the Alt-Right, which was a big talk, a very well received, very smart thing. But of course, the point of that talk was saying, look, here, dear progressive left, here are all the things that you've done wrong that have given rise to the alt-right. Here are all of the things that you messed up. And if you want to dissipate some of the energy, some of the momentum behind the alt-right, here's what you have to do. And I don't mind telling you about these things because I know you're not going to do any of them. So it was, of course, a defense of the alt-right. And it was, of course, an evisceration of the progressive left. But, people don't read these days. So the title alone was to send people, it was enough to send the most autistic and unpleasant small fringe of the alt-right into paroxysms of rage and confusion. And of course then at LSU I did a talk in drag, which they didn't like very much either, as my drag persona Ivana Wall, which I think was a brilliant concoction. I looked quite good, actually. Disturbing.
I think they had like an Excel spreadsheet to calculate your degeneracy, and that must have been what pushed you over the edge. I think, which doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, well, like those you can set content-based formatting rules so that if a number goes over 10, the cell turns red. I think.
Yeah, but you were like over 9,000. You weren't near 10.
I was over 9,000. I was into like pink, sparkly word art, spinning graphic, kind of like Excel implosion at that level. Full degeneracy. Anyway, so the 24 hours before this threat was called in, the Daily Stormer declared war, holy war in their words, against me, calling me the biggest threat to the alt-right. Well, it's nice for me now to be in a position where it is clearer to journalists who like to pick up this nonsense that I am hated just as much by the fringe far right as I am by the far left, which is very gratifying. But it's also, I suppose, what might have encouraged the FBI to take it seriously. So we did cancel that. It's sad because I was going to give a very good talk. But the good news is...
Now, I do have to tell you...
Yeah.
I had multiple fans who thought you were probably like shaking and crying and,
Really? That I was worried about the bomb threat.
Scared to death. And I said, honestly, I think you do want to be blown up because it'd be cool.
No.
Maybe the FBI doesn't want you to say that, but I mean.
No, I want to be thrown up. I want to be blown up in like 10 years when I'm at the height of my powers, when I'm a household name and I've beaten the feminists, I've beaten everybody that I wanted to beat. And I'm sort of wondering, how do I sustain a career? All the rest of it. I've got a TV show. Everything's great. Then let some idiot Muslim do it. And that way America will finally wake up and realize if 9/11 didn't fix it for you, then maybe the death of the dangerous faggot will. I don't know. America just doesn't listen. I don't say that flippantly, by the way.
Bomb has a real problem, which is no beautiful corpse. So we'll have to work on that.
That's true.
We'll help out our Muslim brothers on that.
We will. I don't invoke 9/11 flippantly, by the way. I'm constantly stunned by America's. I mean, just you guys just don't learn. 9/11 happened. Orlando, there's just 7/7 bombings elsewhere, Germany, all the rest of it. And you guys just don't learn. All of the very worst stuff is happening either in Islamic countries themselves or on American soil. And still, you've got Obama, 12,500 Syrian migrants that he wants to ship in before his term ends while he still can.
And he probably won't hit triple digits of Christians. The Syrian Christians, the Coptic Christians being murdered in the streets. They're not allowed in.
No,
we need the real victims.
What is it? 3 or 5% of the Syrian
No, they're single digits. Yeah, you're right. It's something less than 5%, but it's like 100 or 200 or something.
Wouldn't it, and this has become something that's sort of semi-racist now to suggest that you ought to look after your own first, or that you ought to discriminate on the basis of principle, or religion or whatever. It just seems totally normal to me that if you were looking out to Syria and you can't take everyone, that you might take the Christians.
Well, yeah, because they have most people trying to kill them.
Everyone's trying to kill them. Everyone. Why wouldn't you take the Christians? Provide them with a new home in America. It's so weird to me. And it's not just that they don't take a proportion, don't take the proportion of Christians. They don't take any.
Right.
It's very, very strange to me. I gave a talk about this, 10 things I hate about Islam, which actually ended up being 13 things I hate about Islam because I couldn't keep it to 10, which I gave in Orlando. You can find that on YouTube as well. I think it's probably my best speech because it was my most serious speech. And I went into theology a little bit, how the Islamic conception of God is different from the Christian one, and how that, why that suggests that maybe these two groups of people simply can't get along. But it mystifies me. Actually, mystifies is the wrong word. It horrifies me that 9/11 could happen here, and you still have Democrat politicians. Hillary Clinton funded, $50 million from Saudi Arabia, pandering to gays whilst mollycoddling Islam. It's so shocking to me. I hope people start to listen. I'm a warning from Europe. I've been in London. I've seen how this ends, and it's so shocking to me. I hope America wakes up at some point. Anyway, I'm sorry. I think I interrupted you from some other point.
No, that's okay. And this is something you may not want to answer right now, but I think it's worth bringing up. In the future, if something happens, will you do something in its place, like whether it's a live stream from a safe, secure location or something else? When a talk's canceled, what can the kids expect?
I think it's a good point, and it's a good idea. We should do that. I think from now on, what we're going to do is, if this does happen again, and let's be completely honest, it is going to happen again. There are certain things in this tour that are inevitable. There are going to be more bomb threats. There is going to be more craziness. I think if it happens again, I might just deliver my speech on Facebook Live, or do it from YouTube or something. So I would encourage you, if you are anxious not to miss things, and even if you have a ticket for the shows, if you find me I'm not difficult to find on Facebook. If you look me up on YouTube, not difficult to find on YouTube. Very lively channels full of fantastic debates and spirited conversations, and of course great content. Go look it up and go subscribe to those things. And I'm going to make an effort on those days where these things do happen to stage some kind of online event instead, because I think that we need to get to a stage where these disruptions don't derail anything,
Right. Yeah. Well, it sends a message of, if you shut it down, boys and girls, not only will it still be heard, but it'll reach 10 times more people, because when you spoke,
it was such big news. I was on CBS that night talking about, in Orlando, talking about not in Orlando, sorry, for Florida Atlantic University. I was on CBS that night, 55 different stations.
And, I think we already learned that lesson when Florida Central University, or whichever school it was too chicken to let you speak about the Pulse attack. You went to ground zero at a church, and with no major media coverage, you had millions of views on that.
Right. Well, it's difficult for me not to get big numbers for things now. I think people are
Is that a humble brag or a regular brag?
No, I think it was just a brag.
Okay.
We don't need you. We have the power of charisma and talent, and of course, we're in the right. We are right about everything, and honest.
So speaking of being on the right,
so much more fun. Yes.
Speaking of being in the right, because we usually are, actually. I think we got to close out with Twitter, because that's, continuing delicious,
isn't it?
Delicious
isn't it
story.
Wonderful? Look, I can't even pretend to be sad about it.
Schadenfreude. If we say it, they'll probably think we're Nazis, but it's Schadenfreude.
Schadenfreude. So when you hear this, there will already be a Mike, or perhaps a Vocative, or perhaps a BuzzFeed story about Milo Yiannopoulos screaming Nazi epithets on his podcast. That's the level the progressive press has sunk to. But no, look it up. It is Schadenfreude. Pleasure in other people's misery. I do take pleasure in Twitter's misery. I'm not going to lie. We have, what is it, today? If you're listening to this on Friday, yes, it would be yesterday. Twitter's stock price sank 20% to less than $20 per share. Lowest level since last September, I think, when it was really bad. Mm-hmm. And, this followed the news that Google don't want them. Disney don't want them. Apple doesn't want it.
They think they're even less useful than a headphone jack. Like, sorry, Jack, you're not a headphone jack.
Twitter is less useful to Apple than an aux cord. No, and of course, Mark Benioff, who really wanted it, went to his board, and everybody just revolted at Salesforce, and they said it was going to kill 25% of the value of the company if he forced it through. Because he was Mark Benioff, the CEO of Salesforce, technically I think had the authority to do it if he wanted to, but he's just every analyst, every board member just went no.
Think about that. Let's pound that home for people. An analyst, their only job is to watch the stock and the company and say, here's what's going to happen with this company. So this guy, this analyst, whoever it is, probably someone with a hard to pronounce name, came out and said, if Salesforce.com,
3 brackets around his name.
If they buy Twitter, probably an Indian, honestly, we could look it up and see. But if your company buys Twitter, it will vaporize 25% of the value of your company. I mean, that is financial cancer. That's not, that's the feminism of the stock market right
now.
Well,
and this is what has happened. I wrote a Facebook post about this, actually. I might try to find it because it was very good. My views on this subject. Let me find it.
Yeah. I wonder who else is out there is a bidder,
Well, who'd want it? Google said they don't want it. I mean, there aren't that many people left with the money for it.
What that's essentially saying is you've hurt your platform, which is a great idea. You've hurt it so badly through your regressive politics that it's not even really it's almost worth starting from scratch instead.
Right. I think that's true.
That's a shocking thing to realize, even for those of us that don't like Twitter for the politics.
This is proof positive and utter vindication for those of us who, talk about heckle shekels or social justice being cancer or all the rest of it. You start pandering to these awful people, you will destroy your company. Thank you for listening. This has been a fun episode. We should do more of these. I like being my own guest. I will close by reading my Facebook post and thanking you all for tuning in. Next week, well, who knows what we have next week? It's a long way away. But thanks for joining me, Colin. It's been fun.
Absolutely.
As I said on CNBC ages ago, no one really wants Twitter. I mean, who would? The company has been murdered by social justice warriors who poison everything they touch. Twitter's mistake was buying into a ludicrous abuse and harassment obsession cooked up by the progressive media, which was designed to silence conservatives and libertarians. It's simple, folks. Clamp down on free speech and you die. I can think of no exception in the history of social networks to this rule. Of course, Twitter's products were terrible too, and they are accused of lying to their own investors about growth. But the real mistake was pandering to the forces of darkness. Regressive, far-left wackos who hate men, hate white people, hate conservatives. They even seem to hate heterosexuals. These people are allergic to reason and logic, and they've invented vast conspiracy theories about the patriarchy and white supremacy to insulate themselves from other people's opinions, branding their opponents racist, misogynistic harassers. Professing to champion diversity, Twitter in fact created a space that was only safe for a tiny, deranged sliver of the population. All the interesting and creative people, the edgy artists and provocative commentators, are in the process of leaving or have been banned. R.I.P.